I don't even know how to start this video, man. I just picked up my camera and started rolling, which I guess that's pretty indicative of having spent all this time creating for an algorithm versus creating for myself, which is the whole point of this video. Okay, you know what? Just to get the ball rolling, I'm gonna start this video how every single creator starts their videos, and that is with a very basic introduction. Oh my gosh, look at this dude. Use your turning signal for crying out loud. It isn't that hard. I swear, some people do not deserve to have their licenses. Yes, hello! And as all normal creators do at the start of their videos, allow me to tell you my name, which, in case you haven't already figured it out, is Jack. And if I was like every other creator, I'd probably follow that up with something like, "Ah, monsieur, welcome to my Vittel Vea. My name is Jack, and I am a full-time influencer." You see, when I was just 12 years old, I escaped slavery from the state of Arizona to pursue my dream as a full-time influencer. And you can tell that I'm a full-time influencer because I'm holding a camera like a full-time influencer. Or whatever the fuck. But, judging by the performance of all of my videos this year so far, that would be more than a questionable title to give myself. At least, that's how I used to think. By used to, I mean like 2 weeks ago. That's how I thought 2 weeks ago. Seems kinda almost bullshittery to say, hey, my mindset shifted like that 2 weeks ago. But bear with me. You see, way back in 2015, when I first started creating content, I was under the impression that in order to be considered a legitimate creator, you had to be getting a certain amount of views. In my mind, I had two very good reasons to believe this. First of all, what is a creator without an audience? And second of all of my peers did not take me seriously as a creator. You know, being the artistic kid who was into videos and filmmaking was kind of like a party trick. You know, like, oh yeah, cool, I could make funny skits and stuff, but what actually are you gonna do with that? You can't do anything with that. And so I desperately wanted to prove that I could do this. I desperately wanted to prove that I was a legitimate creator and that I had what it took. So I asked myself, how do you get views? And from that day forwards, I was routinely shooting myself in the foot with every single video that I made. Because with that perspective, every video I made, I tried to articulate and craft to best suit whatever the heck the algorithm thought I should make. This meant that every video I made was lacking authenticity. It was lacking who I really was because I was trying to create something that I thought other people would like. And I certainly wasn't helped by the fact that every single creator who sells a frickin' course would have you believe that the way they get views is the only way to get views. And anyone who tries to do something different is wrong, or incorrect, or stupid, or isn't gonna get to where they wanna be as quickly. Every 19-year-old influencer in the world tells a version of this fucking fairy tale about how they got views so effortlessly and quickly, and if you just follow these 5 simple steps, you can do it too, but only if you pay me first. And the worst part about all of that is I believed them. Now, I didn't buy any of their courses, thank God, right? That was the one thing I knew not to do. But I still remain convinced that because all of these people claim to have some kind of secret formula, if I wasn't doing what they were doing, if I wasn't creating how they were creating, then I must be doing something wrong. So every single thing I made was trying to copy what worked for other people. Well, looks like we're about halfway through this thing. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope all of this is making sense to you. If not, I don't blame you. That was kind of a lot of information to take in. A lot of backstory stuff. Now, I recognize that unless you're like Spider-Man, having a backstory is not exactly the most entertaining thing you could do with video. So I hope the way that I portrayed things was at least interesting. And at this point... Oh, hang on, I got a popcorn kernel. stuck to my hand. At this point, I would like to say, and now let's look towards the future, but sadly, there is more backstory BS to get through. Filmmaking is not something that I always wanted to do. It is, however, something that I became inspired to pursue thanks largely to two guys, Adam Sandler and Will Ferrell, who are masters of the comedic filmmaking space. Their films, Grown Ups, Step Brothers, and Anchorman are among my favorite films ever made, and they never failed, and still never fail, to cheer me up if I've had a bad day or I'm going through a hard time. And that's exactly what I want my art to do for other people. I want my art to make people laugh, to make them smile, to make them feel good about themselves, and to, even if for just a few moments, forget about their worries. Because that is what always kept me going when I was younger and I got picked on or had a bad day or I messed up. And now I'm going to continue this topic of conversation in the backyard of my house, but if you pay close attention, you'll notice that my pants will magically change. Who needs continuity? Now, having a dream is one thing, but doing something with it is a whole different level. And to be honest with you, I had no idea where the heck I should begin with this idea of making comedic films. But I did have my phone and access to social media. So in 2023, I made the decision to start making silly little short videos to post to Instagram and TikTok, and they actually did pretty well. A lot of them got thousands of views, hundreds of likes, and I was able to grow a following from a couple of hundred people to a little over 2,000, which I recognize is by no means the biggest number in the world, but it is far more of a following than I thought I could ever have at that time. And all of that sounds rosy, but there was still a problem. For lack of a better oh, hang on. There we go, that's better. For lack of a better description, I felt disconnected from my audience. Yes, they were enjoying my videos, and yeah, those videos were getting a lot of views, but I don't know, I didn't feel like I could just have a casual conversation with any of them if I wanted to. There was no relatability, and that might not sound like the biggest issue in the world, and in hindsight, it really isn't. However, if I was going to make a living off of this, if I was going to launch, say, a business, or perhaps a clothing brand, or whatever else I was thinking of at that time, off of this content, then I needed that relatability and that connection, because without it, my audience wouldn't trust me, and therefore they wouldn't be interested in whatever the fuck I was selling. I needed to have a strong personal brand, and I wasn't getting that with this kind of content. So, I decided to change tactics. What I decided to do was start making self-development content. And the decision behind that was, yes, partly motivated by the fact that I wanted a strong personal brand, but it was mostly motivated by the fact that it seemed like that's what everybody was doing. And that seemed to be the easiest way to go about getting a strong audience and a strong personal brand. I was creating based off of what I thought people wanted to see, not what I wanted to make or not what I wanted to see. And to my credit, I posted these videos consistently from the 1st of January 2025 right up until making this video, which is early June 2025. Nearly, 6 months? Holy cow. And even though, deep down, I knew that I was only doing this because I thought that that's what people wanted to see, and not because it's what I wanted to see. Even though I knew that, I persisted with it. And that showed in the videos. I remember a couple months ago, had a very, very good friend of mine send me a message, and he says to me, "Bro, your videos feel fake." I said to him, "What do you mean?" He said, "Your videos feel like you're just making them for a school assignment. They feel like you're making them because you're required to." And it was only when I recently went back and rewatched some of my own self-development videos that I realized exactly what he was talking about. They felt so fucking fake. And the reason why that is because they weren't who I am. I am not this calm, monotone person who sits in front of a camera and talks all seriously. There are people who are like that, and making videos that way has worked for them, yes, but it doesn't work for me. Okay, it doesn't work because I am not that kind of person. I have always been, and will always be, this upbeat, enthusiastic, charming person. Even when I was putting on this facade, I guess you can call it, for social media, this is who I was behind the camera. This is who I was outside of content creation. And I think it's only now, as I stare at my camera on the opposite end of the hallway, that I realize two things. Number one, hiding that version of myself did nothing but hurt me. That's all it did. It was self-sabotage at its finest. The way you succeed as a content creator is not by doing what works for other people, it's by creating what you want to see. It's by creating the videos that you want to make. You know, influencers always say, oh, you gotta have a niche. If you're gonna be a creator, you have to have a niche, you gotta have a niche, you gotta have a niche. And that isn't technically wrong. Technically speaking, that is not bad advice. But I feel like if you go that path, you are far more susceptible to just falling into the, ooh, I'm going to do what these guys are doing. But when it comes to building a personal brand, okay, freaking, what's the word? Not focus, oh my gosh, my brain just completely cried. What is, if there's like, I guess highlight? Keyword, there you go. Keyword is personal. I don't know why it took me so long to think of that. Keyword is personal. If you're building a personal brand, you need to be yourself on camera and in your business, but crucially on camera. The person that you show online needs to be who you are in your everyday life. Because if you aren't, not only is there going to come a day when people realize who you really are, and then everything is just going to come crumbling down, but also simply being who you are on camera is what builds trust in an audience. And simply being who you are on camera means that doing this no longer feels like a chore. It no longer feels, as my friend put it, like a school assignment. That's a big difference I noticed right off the bat, just making this video. Making this video no longer feels, or at least I say no longer, it doesn't feel anywhere near as tedious as the previous videos I was making because I'm just being myself on camera and nothing more. And now, the second thing I've realized looking at my camera is that I think I'm overexposed. Oh, jeez. Okay. Ugh, fuck. So here's the lesson of the video. If you're a creator, and you're trying to build a personal brand, or anything of that sort, don't worry about whatever the fuck other creators are doing. Don't worry about what's working for other creators. Only create the videos that you want to make, and most importantly, be yourself on camera. The second thing, doesn't matter how experienced you are, you could have a degree in cinematography like I do, you're still gonna make dumb mistakes while you do this. Oh boy, so if you want to see me continue to make more dumb mistakes like that on camera, I would greatly appreciate it if you would take the time to subscribe and like this video. But you know, if not, that's cool. I still appreciate you watching. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, guys. I'll talk to you soon.